focusing on the small business as one such viable income stream. I'll be sharing valuable tips on how to set up a small business successfully and diversify into other areas. I'll also show you how to discover your gifts and your talents and how you can monetize them, all with the aim of helping your dream of becoming financially free become a reality. So join me, Bebe Clement, every Tuesday on Star Radio at 1:30 p.m. Remember, don't let life dictate to you, rather, put your signature on life. Hi everyone, I'm Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. Just want to quickly tell you about a new and exciting radio show that I'm going to be hosting called Bebe Means Business. And I'll be discussing the importance of developing different income streams in today's climate and focusing on the small business as one such viable income stream. I'll be sharing valuable tips on how to set up a small business successfully and diversify into other areas. I'll also show you how to discover your gifts and your talents and how you can monetize them, all with the aim of helping your dream of becoming financially free become a reality. So join me, Bebe Clement, every Tuesday on Star Radio at 1:30 p.m. Remember, don't let life dictate to you, rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me. You are tuned into the business show of the week, Bebe Means Business. This is the business show that you need if you want to start a business, if you have a business idea and you want to change it into a business, if you want to grow your business, if you need tips on how to access finance, if you need tips on how to collaborate with other business owners to grow your business, how to sell your business, everything to do with business, we talk about it here. It's your host, Bebe Clement, and I run a group of successful companies. I'm also the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. And the reason why I share that is so that you know that I'm not just giving you theoretical tips. I'm walking the talk. These are the things that I've been through and I'm learning as I go along, and I want to share them with you so that you can be a success as well, and we can get there together. There's lots of room at the top. It's the bottom that's crowded. So let's get there together. I want to thank everybody who tuned in last week. Last week was a really good show. We had the most questions that we've ever had in this show last week. So clearly we tapped into something that resonates with all of you. And last week we spoke about networking and the fact that your net worth is determined by your network. Before I do a summary of what we spoke about, I want to do a quick shout out to all the guys that tune in from South Africa. We have a huge following from South Africa. Thank you so much, as well as Uganda, where the following is growing. We appreciate you tuning in, and we're glad that you are getting a lot out of this. Also want to thank Fumi, who tuned in last week with their questions. I hope you got your free gift. It was in the post for you immediately. Hope you got that and you're enjoying it, and you're getting all the tips that you need to be successful in your business. So, like I said, last week we spoke about networking. And we talked about the different places in which you can network. You can network in professional associations, you can network at parties, you can network in social clubs, you can even network at the gym. But I think the key is to be prepared, to always be prepared that you're going to meet people and you just never know who your next customer is going to be. We also spoke about how to, what you need to do when you're networking. I divided that into three, talked about what you need to do before you go for a networking event, what you need to do when you're there, and what you do afterwards. We spoke about when you're going to go to a networking event, you have to be strategic. You don't just get up and go to every networking event. You have to be strategic. So you have to be very clear in your mind. What exactly do you want to achieve when you go to a networking event? Is it that you want to hear a particular speaker? Is it that you want to get your cards in the hands of 10 new clients? Or is there someone specific that you want to meet? You've got to be very clear so that when you go there, you don't waste your time. You just hone in and do what you want to do. Also, while you're there, there's certain things that you need to do. The importance is that you make sure that you are memorable. You connect with people. You don't just go there and talk or hand out cards. You connect with people. And like I said, make yourself memorable. Also, when you finish attending a networking event and you go back to your office, what do? And we spoke about how you have a casual casual interaction with a prospective client. Maybe you send them an email just to remind them, oh, I'm Bebe Clement, I met you at so-and-so event. It was really a pleasure. Hope we can stay in touch. No hard sell, just staying in touch. And I left you with the memorable quote that networking is not a one-night stand, it is a long-term relationship. So you've got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to woo the customer. So enough about networking. Welcome today to how to use branding to grow your business. How to use branding to grow your business. Now, this is really important. I mean, we hear this all the time. Oh, I love this brand. This brand is really good. Oh, I can't stand that brand. But you know, very few people, if you sit them down and ask them, can actually tell you what exactly branding is. So I thought I'd go through that with you because it is so important, especially if you're a small business and you're growing your business as a personal brand. It is so important that you build your brand properly, because if you don't, it can totally mess up your business. And if you do, it can open you to opportunities unimaginable if you build the right brand. So let's go through that. Are you ready? Get your iPad, get your notebook, get your pen, whatever it is that you need to take notes. And I understand loads of you do take notes, which is great. And let's go. Are you ready? How to use branding to grow your business. So the first thing I want to do is look at what is branding. But before we get to that, we're going to look at what are the things that make up your brand. There are certain things that individually are not your branding, but they are ingredients of your branding. So look at it like this. Suppose you were cooking a pot of stew and you had loads of ingredients. So you've got the salt, you've got the pepper, you've got the tomatoes, whatever. The salt is not the stew. The pepper is not the stew. The tomatoes are not the stew. But when you put them all together, you get a good pot of stew. If you put them together right, the recipe is right, you get a really good pot of stew. So that's how I want you to have a look at branding. So the things I'm going to speak about now are not individually your brand, but they are collectively your brand. And individually, they are very important. So let's have a look at them. So the first thing is your logo. Your logo. Now, I hope you can see this. This is my logo. The top bit is my logo. And it says, put your signature on life. Can you see that? Okay, there we go. Put your signature on life. That's my logo. And the whole part of that is my logo. The whole wording is my logo. Put your signature on life. And the wording of my name, Bebe Clement, all that is my logo. Now, not only are the words my logo, let me try again. Not only are the words my logo, but, yeah, let's start. Even the font, you can see the font. The font is italicized, or is in italics. And that's for a reason, because the strap line, and I'll go into the strap line in a minute. The strap line says, put your signature on life. So I wanted something that looked like a signature. So not only are the words Bebe Clement part of my logo, but the font that I use, the italicized font, is also part of my logo. So if you see my name, Bebe Clement, just written in ordinary words, not italicized, that is not my logo. Okay, so that's quite important, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So your logo is really important, and it's a really strong ingredient of your brand, even though it's not your brand by itself. So you must get your logo right. Don't just pick anything off the internet. You must get your logo right, because all these things, as you'll see as we go along, are part of your branding. They're part of your message. So make sure you spend a lot of time thinking about the kind of logo you want and why you want it. Now, another thing that's important in your branding are your colors. Your colors. Now you can see that my colors are green, light green, and red. Light green, ignore the bottom bit for a moment. Light green, and red. Now, because I'm building my this particular company, I run a range of companies, but this particular company is my personal brand. It's my baby, so it's my personal brand. And so I wanted everything to do with my branding to have a personal touch. Now, I originally wanted to have this green and lilac. That was what I was originally going to have as the colors for my logo. But when I came up with that, my marketing manager very wisely told me that, Bebe, if you have lilac on your logo, it will alienate the men. I was not convinced of that, I gotta be honest, but I did my market research and she was actually right. I found that once men saw lilac in the logo, they automatically thought that whatever product or whatever service I was offering was aimed at women. And so, as that is not the case, in fact, a lot of my clients are men. And interestingly, when I look at the statistics in relation to this radio show, the majority of the viewers are men. So it's very clear that when it comes to business, it's still a male-dominated area, even though women are indeed catching up. So it's really important that you choose the right colors for your target audience. Now, you will see that the words, "put your signature on life," are in red. Now, again, there's a reason for that, because the statement, "put your signature on life," is very instructive. Very instructive. It's very demanding. It's really telling you what you need to do, and you need to do it now. So it's very instructive. So there's a reason why it's in red. When you want to give somebody an instruction, when you give them an order, it's really good to put it in red because it grabs their attention. It lets them know that whatever is coming is serious. You can't mess about. So because of the instruction I'm giving them, put your signature on life, and put in this context is used as a verb, so it's a doing statement, then that's the reason why it is in red. Okay, so can you see that you have to take time to think about your branding? You don't just build a brand, you take time to think of what it is that you're aiming at. Okay, now again, the strapline, my company strapline is "put your signature on life." Now, because it is so demanding and so commanding, that passes a message to anybody that's going to hire me to speak. Of course, I'm a speaker. So anybody that's going to hire me to either speak or train, that gives them a flavor of what they can expect when they hire me. So let's say, for instance, one of the things that I'm hired to do is to help companies motivate their staff. So they know when they've engaged with my strapline, "put your signature on life," they know that if they hire me to come and speak to their staff are going to be inspired, they're going to be instructed, they're going to be motivated, they're going to have a feel of get up and go, there's no room for mediocrity. They understand that from the message they get from the strapline. So it is important that your strapline conveys the message that you're trying to get. What is it that they're going to what can they expect when they engage with you? It's important that your strapline tells them that. Now, going a step further is your mission statement. Now, I don't particularly have a mission statement for Bebe Clement because I think my strapline says all that I need to say. But some companies have a mission statement, and the mission statement kind of enlarges upon the strapline. It gives you an even deeper understanding of what that company stands for. It reflects and imbibes and conveys and communicates the values that that company stands for. So let's say, for example, Starbucks. The mission statement for Starbucks is that they exist to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one cup, one person, and one neighborhood at a time. I love that, I must say. I love that. So they want to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one cup, one person, one neighborhood at a time. Now, when you read that statement, you get a feel of what they're about and what you can expect when you engage with Starbucks. So, in other words, what they're saying is that this is not your typical coffee shop. We don't want you to come in, slap £10 on the counter and grab your coffee and dash off. That's not what we want. We want you to stay a while. We want you to relax. We want you to step away from life a bit. We want you to recharge your batteries. We want you to we want to spoil you a bit. We want you to step away from your troubles. We want to create an environment of home away from home for you. All that is conveyed in their mission statement. And haven't they done that? They've totally changed the way we look at coffee houses. Prior to Starbucks coming on the scene, coffee houses were pretty impersonal places. You came in, you bought your coffee, you left. But that's not happening anymore. They've totally changed how we view the coffee shop. So much so now that it's not unusual for schools to take their children, their classrooms down to Starbucks and have story time. Have story time. So all these kids are sitting there on their bean bags or their big cushions, and their teacher is sitting there reading them a story in what is effectively a coffee house. But that's because their mission statement has engaged with their clientele, and their clientele have taken up the challenge, so to speak, to engage with them on those terms. And so it is so much more than just a coffee house. Okay, so you can see that your mission statement is so important. And as a result, they have been able to corner the majority of the coffee shop space just by their mission statement. Getting across the message that they wanted to convey. Now, another thing that is also part of your branding, an ingredient of your branding that people don't often think about, is the public statements made by the company or people who are decision makers in the company or who are considered to be the face of the company. Now, the reason why I draw your attention to this is because in this day and age of social media, you have to be very, very careful what you say. Sometimes you can say something that you think has absolutely no correlation and no connection to your company and the activities of your company, but are perceived to be so because now people perceive what you say as being part of your brand. And if you are not careful, it can damage your brand greatly. In the reverse, if you say the right thing, it can greatly attract new customers. And I want to give you two examples of two people whose words, unfortunate words, totally almost destroyed the brand. And I'll start with BP, British Petroleum. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but in 2010, BP had the worst environmental disaster almost in history, I think. They had definitely the worst oil spill off the Gulf of Mexico. And the effect of that oil spill is still being felt today. And as a result of that oil spill, 11 people died. The coastline was destroyed. The marine life was destroyed. And like I said, the effects thereof are still being felt today. Now, the chief executive of BP at that time was a guy called Tony Hayward. And of course, deservedly, he got a lot of flack from the public and the media regarding this oil spill. And he came on TV, and during an interview, he said, he was moaning basically, and he was saying, I just want my life back. Now, that did not go down well, because considering the fact that 11 people had died and the whole of the marine life had been destroyed, for you to be talking like a petulant child and saying, I just want my life back, was really the wrong thing to do. And so as a result of that statement, that greatly affected the brand of BP, such that about 150 million was wiped off their shares. And in the end, he had to resign, and they had to have a total rebranding of BP as a result of those words. A total rebranding. The same thing happened with a company that we had in the UK a few years ago called Ratner's. Now, Ratner's used to sell gold jewelry, and they were the dominant jewelers in the market. There was hardly a high street in the UK that Ratner's did not dominate at the time. And it was a third generation company. and the managing director at the time was a guy called Gerard Ratner. The company was, I think, founded by his grandfather, and he was a third generation managing director. Now, he made a statement, and again, you have to be careful because he actually didn't even make this statement in public. He made a statement in a shareholders meeting. He actually just cracked a joke, what he thought was a joke, but it was the most expensive joke ever, in a shareholders meeting. And he was speaking about a particular product that Ratner's had introduced, and he made an off-the-cuff joke about that product being total crap. And unfortunately for him, the press got a hold of that comment and slapped it all over the front pages of the news the next day. And the public didn't take kindly to being told that when they spend money at Ratner's, they're spending money on total crap. And as a result of that little statement, that little joke, 122 million was wiped off their shares within a week. And in the end, Gerard Ratner had to resign, and that company was wiped off just because of that unfortunate joke. So can you see how important it is that you say the right thing with the realization that what you say affects your brand, even if what you're saying is not related to your company or your goods and your services? Okay. Now, another part of your brand and that attracts people or helps you get new clients are the activities of the face of the company. And these activities don't have to have anything to do with the company themselves. So when you think of somebody like Richard Branson, Richard Branson is a fun-loving guy. He doesn't take himself too seriously. And so he's always engaged in some activity. So, for instance, I know he's always wanted to fly around the world in a balloon, and he's always attempting to do that. I don't think he's been able to do it yet, but he's always attempting to do that. Now, even though he's flying around the world in a balloon, has absolutely nothing to do with Virgin Services, and their products, but it feeds into his brand. It says about his brand, we enjoy life, we are adventurous, we will go where others don't want to go or haven't deemed to go, we're just going to have fun and enjoy life. It feeds his brand. The activities away from the company feeds his brand. Let me take a personal example that will bring it home slightly more. My husband and I have a charity called the Clement Foundation in Nigeria, whereby we provide free healthcare and some education for some people in a particular area in Lagos called Surulere. And even though that foundation has absolutely nothing to do with Bebe Clement, this is something we do outside of business, and even if we were not in business, this is something we would still do. But we have discovered that those activities are feeding the brand. And so it's affecting the way people view Bebe Clement, the brand. It says to them that Bebe Clement, the brand, is not just about the money. She's about giving back. She cares about people. She wants the best for people. She's doing what her little bit to improve the life of people, that kind of thing. Even though that's not the intention, that is the effect. So what you need to do is look for activities or things that you do outside of your business that can speak to your brand. That can speak to your brand. And I'm giving you an example of some of the things that I do that speak to my brand. Now, so those are some of the ingredients that make up your brand. So now I want to give you a couple of definitions of branding. Are you ready? Okay. Here's the first one. The first definition of branding. Branding is everything that you put before your client that helps the client form an opinion about your products or your goods or your services. I'm going to say that again. It's really important. Branding is everything that you put before your client or in the public domain where your clients can get a hold of it that helps the client form an opinion about your product or your service or your company. Now, the operative word in that statement is opinion, because that's what branding is all about. Everything that you're putting out there, your logo, your colors, your mission statement, your strapline are helping them form an opinion about you. And you want to make sure that they form the right opinion about your brand. Once the public form the right opinion, that increases sales in your brand, in your company. So you need to ensure that that's exactly what your brand is doing. It's helping them form the right kind of opinion, a positive opinion about your brand. The second definition that I'm going to give about branding is that branding is the promise of an experience and the experience of that promise. Branding is the promise of an experience and the experience of that promise. So, for example, what I mean is everything that I put out there, put your signature on live, saying it boldly, that kind of thing. It says to the client that when I engage with Bebe Clement, this is what I can expect. So again, so let's say you want to hire me to motivate your staff. You can expect your clients to be inspired. If your clients were, let's say, post-COVID-19, they were kind of demoralized and being so psychologically affected by everything that's going on that you've inherited a deflated workforce. You can expect that if I hire Bebe Clement to come and speak to my staff, she is going to get them back on their feet again. That's the kind of thing. Okay, so all the ingredients of my brand are giving you a promise of an experience. Now, when you actually engage with my brand, that promise that I gave you is the one that you must experience. So if, for instance, you attend one of my seminars and you come out of there feeling about life exactly the way you felt when you went in, then I have not given you the experience of the promise that I offered you. That doesn't happen, by the way. There is no way that you can hire me to speak and not be inspired. There's no way. Feedback forms tell me the two greatest words that I use also always say I was motivated, I was inspired. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back, but we're going to take a break now, and then any questions that we have that have come in during the program, I'm going to take them then. So don't go away, because I'll be back right after the break.
Hi everyone, I'm Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. Just want to quickly tell you about a new and exciting radio show that I'm going to be hosting called Bebe Means Business. And I'll be discussing the importance of developing different income streams in today's climate and focusing on the small business as one such viable income stream. I'll be sharing valuable tips on how to set up a small business successfully and diversify into other areas. I'll also show you how to discover your gifts and your talents and how you can monetize them, all with the aim of helping your dream of becoming financially free become a reality. So join me, Bebe Clement, every Tuesday on Star Radio at 1:30 p.m. Remember, don't let life dictate to you, rather, put your signature on life. Hi everyone, I'm Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. Just want to quickly tell you about a new and exciting radio show that I'm going to be hosting called Bebe Means Business. And I'll be discussing the importance of developing different income streams in today's climate and focusing on the small business as one such viable income stream. I'll be sharing valuable tips on how to set up a small business successfully and diversify into other areas. I'll also show you how to discover your gifts and your talents and how you can monetize them, all with the aim of helping your dream of becoming financially free become a reality. So join me, Bebe Clement, every Tuesday on Star Radio at 1:30 p.m. Remember, don't let life dictate to you, rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are on the Bebe Means Business Show, the business show of the century that you need in order to do well in your business. Today we're talking about how to use branding to build your business, how to grow your business through branding. And while we're offline, we had a question come in, and the question was sent in by JR. Oh, hi JR. And your question is, thank you for your suggestions, which we are working on. Okay. How do we improve our customer service through branding in order to increase our customer retention? You mentioned something a few weeks ago about customer service experience. How do we apply this level of customer service to a small business like ours? Okay, so thank you very much, JR, for your question. Hopefully you would have been listening to the show so far about how to use branding to retain your customers. And as I go on, hopefully I will answer those questions. Okay, I've got another question here. I've been very grateful for your advice. I gleaned from the program last week. I'm running a small business selling costume jewelry, mostly by word of mouth. I would like to expand my client base and would like some advice on how to expand my market. Well, again, your branding will help you do that. And as I go on, you should be able to pick up some tips as to how to use your branding to do that. Okay, so here we go. So just before the break, I gave you a definition of what branding is. One, it is everything that you put before the clients that helps them form an opinion about your company. And secondly, branding is the promise of an experience and the experience of that promise. So let's say your marketing material is very slick. You have this really nice glossy brochure. It looks really expensive and everything like that. And there are pictures on your website of your office. It's really, really nice, glass all over the place, and it looks really, it just looks very expensive and very nice and everything like that. What you are doing is helping the client form an opinion. So the opinion that the client is likely to form is that, okay, when I engage with this client, they are going to give me really good customer service because their marketing material is really good, their offices look really expensive and classy, so I'm going to get really good customer service. So if that particular client has that expectation of that promise, and they ring your office, and your phone just rings and rings and rings, and nobody picks it up, and there's no voicemail, then you have defaulted on the promise that you gave them. Their experience is not the promise that you gave them. And remember that branding is a promise of an experience and the experience of that promise. Okay, so I'd like to talk about things to consider when you're building your brand, because if you consider these things, these will help with your customer retention and your customer growth, okay? Now, you need to think about what are your key strengths. What is it that you do really well? What are your key strengths? And use those key strengths in your brand. Interweave them into your brand. Let them be dominant features of your brand. One of my key strengths is that I'm very passionate about people doing well in life. Hence my strapline, put your signature in life. I'm a strong believer that you can be the very best that you can be, irrespective of the hand that life has dealt you. I'm passionate about that, and that comes across. So when I'm speaking before an audience, I speak, my whole tone, my whole body language is one of passion. Is one of passion. I want you to do well, and that comes across. Whatever your strength is, build that strength into your brand. That will attract customers. That will attract customers. Then also, look, what is it that you do differently? In other words, what is your USP? And your USP is your unique selling point. And the way in which you determine your unique selling point is, if you have two people, let's say myself and yourself, both of us are offering the exact same service. What would make a potential customer go to you rather than come to me? That little thing, that subtle thing that makes that customer choose your services over mine is your USP. Find out what that is. And let me bust a myth. People often think that that ingredient is price. It's not true. Most customers will pay more. They'll be happy to pay more as long as you are offering them a promise, and when they engage with you, they experience the promise that you are offering them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about your price. There is a market for every product. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. But what is your USP? I want to talk a little bit about Amazon, like the caller who sent in that question talked about, mentioned that I've mentioned before, Amazon and Apple. Actually, let me talk about Apple because I'm a big fan of Apple, as you well know. Now, Apple has a number of USPs, a number. And I love going to Apple just for the experience of it. So I go to an Apple shop. First of all, there's always loads of stuff. So I'm not having to wait 10 minutes for somebody to even look in my direction. There's loads of stuff. They're all over the shop. And they are fired up. Always. I've never gone into an Apple shop and seen bored, tired, disinterested staff. They are always fired up. That's a USP. They're always very knowledgeable about the products. Very knowledgeable about the products. They can get me to think about what the product can do that I never hitherto thought about. The product is on display. I can feel it, I can touch it, I can use it, I can try it out. This is so important in sales. So those kind of things are Apple's USPs. Also, when I buy the product, I don't have to queue in a long line to pay for my products. They will bring the machine to me where I'm standing. I don't even have to move. They'll bring it to me and I can pay and then go real quick on time. All these things are their USPs. And yet, Apple's products are some of the, I think, the most expensive in that space. Yet people will buy them. Why? Because their USP, they built it into their brand. They built it into their brand. And people want to identify with that brand. The same thing with Amazon. I was telling my husband yesterday that I had ordered something from Amazon and I had done something wrong on the order and I'd ordered more than I needed. So I wanted to talk to them about it. So I called them, I went on their chat line, and the minute I went on their chat line, they asked me, they brought up an image of the most recent product I bought, and they asked me, is your query to do with this product? Now, for me, that is fantastic because it means I don't have to wait to speak to someone and then go through the whole story of why I'm ringing. Already they've identified why I might be ringing. And then they had a range of questions that might relate to my query, and they were right. So these are the kinds of things that we're looking at that you build into your brand that attract clients. Okay, so for the lady who sells jewelry, those are the kind of things that you need to be looking at in building your brand. Okay, we're very quickly running out of time today, so I'm going to quickly go on to the other things that you need to consider when you're building your brand before I round up the show. Okay, who are your clients and what do they do? So, for instance, I spoke earlier about if your clients, if you're selling a product that appeals to men, for instance, then that would inform the kind of colors that you would use in your logo, so that you don't alienate the people that you're trying to attract as clients. The same thing as with women. There are certain colors that appeal to women. So again, your branding will attract your clients if you get your branding right. What do your clients need? And how do you communicate that you can meet their needs through your brand? So for again, using my brand, for example, if my clients need to motivate their staff, how do I communicate to them that I'm the girl that they need to hire? So, for instance, I might have a video marketing piece of material that I put on my website showing me speaking to a lot of people, or a previous training session I've done, and the MD of that company giving a video testimonial of how their bottom line had increased substantially following me coming in to work with them. That video is part of my branding. It tells a prospective client that if you hire this person, this is the result that you will get. Okay? And that's what clients want to see. That's what attracts clients. Clients don't just want to throw a lot of money at you. They want to be able to clearly see the difference that hiring you makes in their business. Okay. Okay, I've answered that question. That was the one about the jewelry. I've answered that. So let's look at the message that you want to send in your brand. Whenever you do your branding, the message you want to send has to be clear, consistent, and coherent. It has to be clear, consistent, and coherent. Before I go into that, a question come in. Says, as a woman, I believe that you understand my dilemma. I have 2 children, both girls. They're 15 and 13 years old. I'd like them to be involved in the business. How do I get them to be involved in the business without putting too much pressure on them? I would like to leave the business to them when I retire. Very good question. Now, I'm a strong believer that you should get your kids involved in your business very early. Very early. My children are involved in my business. And it might not be anything major. It might be helping me set up, my children set up all the material for the radio show. But when I go to events, my kids are there. They man my stand. So they engage with customers. They learn skills. They learn how to deal with customers, and so they learn customer service. They learn to identify what customers want. They learn to identify which products are selling and which products we need to remove. They hand out feedback forms. They learn to interact with people. All those kind of things. It is really important that you get your kids involved and you get them to understand business. Even if they decide they don't want the business, because you can't really force your business on your kids. They may want to take a completely different path in life. But the skills that they learn from business are immeasurable. They are invaluable, and they will serve them well in life. No matter what they decide to go into, they will serve them well in life. I've got one more question here, but I'd like to finish this if I can. If I'm not able to take your question today, I will definitely answer it next week. So let me quickly finish with this. The message you send with your branding must be clear, it must be consistent, and it must be coherent. So let's quickly deal with those. It must be clear. If your clients are confused about what it is that you're trying to tell them, then there's something wrong with your branding. There's something wrong with your branding. And confused clients do not buy. It's that simple. So you need to make sure that clients understand what you're trying to tell them. So I would encourage you to, as homework, here's homework for next week, your website or your business card or whatever, choose about 20 people from different walks of life and ask them to write back to you what message it is that they get from looking at your business card. What vibe do they get about your business when they look at your business card? And you can take it from there and then see whether the message that you are intending for them to get is what they're getting. So if you are, I don't know, selling jewelry and they think that you sell weave-on, then there's something wrong with your branding. Your message is not clear, okay? Also, your message must be consistent. Your message must be consistent. So, for instance, my book, How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur, you can see that the strapline, put your signature on life, appears there, even though this is a book. It's not a business card, but the strapline, put your signature on life, also appears on this product, a book. It also appears on every other product I have. You can see it there. Put your signature on life, and you will see that it is in the same color. So there's a consistency. It appears in red on the book. It appears in red on the card. Now, in relation to the book, I have a different business card for the book. The business card I have for the book is the same as the book. Has the same color, the same words, and it's got put your signature on life on there as well. So the brand is circular. It is consistent. Every time I go and speak somewhere, I will end the day with put your signature on life, just as I'm about to end this program with those words. So remember, your brand has got to be clear, it's got to be consistent, and it's got to be coherent. We've got to be able to understand what it is that your brand is saying to us. Is your brand saying, my company is for the luxury end of the market, it's for the high end of the market? If that's the case, then we should be able to see that in your brand. Is your business saying, no, I cater for the lower end of the market? If that's the case, then we should be able to see that in your brand. Your branding must be clear, consistent, and coherent. And if it is, that will not only attract customers, but more importantly, it will retain customers, because a good brand breeds loyalty. A good brand builds trust. And in business, your greatest currency is trust. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining me again today. Thank you again for all the questions. I do apologize, I won't be able to take this last question because we've run out of time. But I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a lot. And I'm going to be here again next week, same time. Actually, we've got a couple of minutes more. Let me see if I can answer this question. Let's have a look. It says, I want to look at the issue of the need to reduce costs with my staff. They actually suggested other ways of reducing costs without losing my staff, which I found to be very encouraging. But I'm not convinced that they will reduce our costs as quickly as we need to. My question is, should I try out their suggestions first, just to show good faith, or should I go ahead with my plans to make some of the staff redundant? Well, I'm a strong believer that making staff redundant should be your last port of call. It should be your last port of call. So if there are other ways in which you can retain your staff and still stay afloat, then I would strongly encourage you to do that. It may well be, if for instance, I'm not sure if you're in the UK, but it may well be that you still take the government's furlough program for your staff. It may be that. It may be that you reduce staff hours. So perhaps they're working on full-time contract and they work 35 hours. It is better to reduce their hours than make them redundant. Anything that you can do to reduce your overhead. So for instance, is it possible for your staff to actually work from home permanently? If it is, then that will reduce your overhead considerably. I was speaking to a client yesterday and she was asking for advice as to whether she should give up her premises. And when we spoke about it, actually, she doesn't need her premises. In all honesty, she doesn't need her premises. She could run that business online. And so I was able to get that across to her. And that's going to save her a considerable amount of money. We were looking at about 20,000 in rent for her office. So yes, redundancies sadly sometimes are inevitable, but do whatever you can. Implement other strategies to enable to retain your staff if you can. I think we've come to the end of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. It was really good. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for all the questions. Keep them coming. So tell other people. I'll be here same time next week. Stay safe, stay well. And remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life. Have a great night.
Hi everyone, I'm Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. Just want to quickly tell you about